What's going on, Perform24 family? Levi Jaeckel here, back with another video, back in Perform24 in Tampa, Florida. Today we're going to be going over a recap video of the off-season training for Jake Cave. So Jake Cave is an outfielder with the Minnesota Twins, and I wanted to do this on him specifically because he is a guy that I have worked with now for 6 off-seasons. He and I were talking about that just a couple weeks ago, and it's just mind-blowing. For both of us that we've been training together that long. So I started training Jake when he was a little baby Tampa Yankee here just down the road in the single A organization back before they were the Tampa Tarpons. But I figured that, you know, with all that context that I have on him and then where he's at right now, this would be an interesting video to make. So I'm going to kind of bring you into my mind on how I organize his off season. And then I want to show some clips too in the background of what he was doing. One of the big differences with training Jake now, you know, compared to a couple years ago is his timelines. So he's now a Major League Baseball player. He's now working on the Major League schedule. So his off season just naturally is a little bit shorter, right? The minor league season ends a little bit before the Major League season. And so minor leaguers typically have a longer time to train. Not only that, he did go into the postseason last year. So his off-season is cut up even a little shorter. Naturally, after the season ends, there's a couple weeks there of just kind of like a mental reset and a mental escape. I think that that's very important. I think that recharging and then also having some time to reflect on the season is a very important part of a successful off-season. Showing up in the gym the day after the season ends, sometimes I don't think that that's all that helpful. You need time to reflect on what worked, what didn't, and then, you know, obviously plan for the upcoming year. So anyways, there's a couple weeks there where Jake's, you know, spending time with his family. This year he happened to travel to Colorado, and he was training at a place in Colorado for a few weeks as well. So he took some time off, and then he trained at a place in Colorado, and then he came and spent January and February here with us. So if there's a situation like this where, you know, a guy is training with somebody else, I'm going to do my homework and reach out to that other training company or to that other trainer. So I want to know what they've been working on, what they've been emphasizing, what's working, what's not working, and kind of the thing. I want to get caught up to speed on where he's at right now. So, you know, I did call them. We had a great conversation. The guys in Colorado, that was Push Performance. They were doing an unbelievable job with him. So I just basically got caught up to speed. And then, you know, I obviously have years of context of training with him myself. And then I had a conversation with him, you know, so again, kind of catch me up to speed. You know, what did you think of the season? What do you want to work on? You know, is anything banged up? Do we need to emphasize anything in particular? In Jake's case, he is a great athlete, right? So, you know, his body, he's done a very good job preparing his body, and he can rely on his body to stay healthy. So there wasn't any major kind of hurdles that we had to address this year. Which kind of makes my job easy in a way, but it also, you know, if there is a red flag, that's also kind of an easy, like low-hanging fruit thing to work on. So, you know, we kind of had a little bit of a blank slate, and what we decided to do is we decided to break his off-season here up into like 2 separate phases. The first phase was 2 weeks long with a very, very small deload week on the 3rd week, and then his second phase was just a 2-week phase, just to really get his body fully prepared for spring training. Both phases were pretty dynamic, pretty explosive. He'd been doing some great strength work already in the off season in Colorado, and so, you know, that box for his off season had kind of already been checked. So that kind of, again, that's kind of fun for us just because those dynamic and explosive and athletic training sessions they're a lot of fun, right? And they look good on Instagram and they look good on YouTube. But he's able to do that now because of the work that he's put in previously in the off season, and also all of the fundamental work that he's put in his entire career up to this point. The first phase that we did with him, it was a little bit more traditional in the sense of strength, explosive, or strength power complexes, right? We were doing a strength movement followed by some type of explosive movement. And this is very common strength and conditioning programming strategy. And we're just kind of getting his body ready to be athletic at a moment's notice. The second phase, things got a little bit more interesting. So I kind of went off of my typical training programming methods and kind of broke some of my own rules a little bit. His plyometric block was still very high, still very complex. We're using a lot of multi-directional jumps, a lot of multi-directional hops. We're using a lot of plyometric movements combined with med ball movements, which I'm sure you're seeing clips of. But then we also, in his final phase here, so the last 2 weeks here, we kind of removed some of the demand from his primary block and made them just 2 really, really intense exercises. So up to this point in the offseason, he hasn't really opened it up and ran, right? And so we wanted to make sure that he had a little bit of exposure to like full speed movement before he went into spring training. And so the last 2 weeks here, we were just making sure that his body was prepared to go full speed. So we were doing a strength movement in the weight room and then a full speed movement on the turf outside. And then we were just resting. That was our primary block for his last phase. So big strength movement, big full speed movement running on the turf with different kinds of apparatuses. Again, hopefully I'm doing a good job showing those clips. But then it was kind of back in the weight room, recover, get full recovery, and then go back to that strength movement. His core blocks were very stability based. So, really, really holding good posture through different positions or through different demands. So we were doing the sandbag carries, different weighted carries, different plank variations, things like that, but trying to just make sure that his core and his torso, are very, very stable. So in his auxiliary blocks, and when you're training in here, your auxiliary block is kind of like the final circuit that you'll do of your workout, right? His auxiliary block was a little bit of a catch-all. So in that last phase, we kind of already addressed the strength and the explosive component of his workout in that primary block. So we didn't really need to hammer that again in the auxiliary block. And so what we did is we did do a little bit of light stuff, a little bit of light strength movements. We sprinkled a little bit more core in there. We did throw some mobility into that circuit. And then we did add some shuffles and shuttles, again, just to make sure that he was actually moving, right? So, we can work technique on a sled, but until you actually kind of get out there and run a couple shuttles, you haven't run yet. So, we used his auxiliary block to kind of address some of those things as well. Those auxiliary blocks were total body. There was kind of a lot in those circuits. They were 4 exercises, and we'd go through those circuits 3 or 4 times. But, again, just something a little bit different, trying to build a well-balanced and a well-rounded athlete that's kind of seen a little bit of everything so that when they get to spring training, he's prepared for it all. I think this is a good way to wrap this video up too. So working with guys like Jake, in a way they make my job really easy, and in a way they make my job really challenging. So the way that he makes it easy on me is that he's gonna do anything that I write for him at 100%. Like, he has an insane work ethic, and getting him to work hard, whether he's with me or not, is not a problem, right? I know that he's taking care of his body outside of the gym. I know that he's drinking water and eating right and all those things, right? Like, super, super easy on that front. But what makes things hard is that I know that he's gonna put a lot of effort into whatever I program for him. And so that kind of challenges me creatively to make sure that I am building a program that matches him exactly where he's at right now, and that will help him in the next season, right? What we did last offseason certainly applies to what we're doing this offseason, but we need to make sure that this is written for now, and it's not written for 12 months ago or something, because he's in a different place and he's learned new things throughout his last season, right? So he's gonna take whatever I write and run with it, and so that really kind of puts the pressure on me, and kind of brings the best out in me to make sure that I'm doing whatever I can and using whatever tools that I have to build a great program for him. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to showcase that a little bit. I think this is a good example of a lot of effort over a long period of time from both him and I, and he's off and running. He's having a really great career, and I can't wait to see what 2021 brings him and the Minnesota Twins. If you guys like this kind of program breakdown, please let me know. I've got hundreds of programs that we could do something like this for. So if you want to see more videos like this, please let me know. And it's fun for me to kind of explain my thought process on what we're doing here in the gym with our people. I've got a big workout that I need to hit myself, so I'm going to get after that. But in the meantime, train hard, live full, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.